You're watching HuffPost Live. I'm Abby Huntsman. Casey Anthony has been spotted. The famous mom who was acquitted of murder has come out of seclusion for a meeting with the creditors in her bankruptcy case in Tampa, Florida. Dressed in all black, as you can see here, Anthony rushed into the building with lots of media following closely behind her. No surprise there. Anthony has not made any public appearances since she left jail after being acquitted of murder in 2011 in the death of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. Joining us right now to discuss this is trial attorney Richard Roth. Richard, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me here.
So obviously it was a mob scene. We haven't seen her in over a year now, dressed in all black. What do we know about this current, her trial, her bankruptcy trial? I mean, how often does this happen? What do we know about her specific trial?
Okay, well, you know, it's funny because everyone wants to talk about what happened with Casey Anthony in connection with her criminal matter, but that's over. So that is, and it was, and that's not what she's before the court with. What she's there for is essentially she filed for bankruptcy in January, and there's something called a Section 341 hearing. A 341 hearing under the Federal Bankruptcy Act is a hearing where the debtor, Casey Anthony in this instance, sits down with the trustee and the creditors and walks through her financial situation. Again, criminal matters closed. This is about her ability to pay her debts when they're due. So she claims she has not much money. I read today that she claims she has $1,000 in assets, and she has $800,000 in liabilities, $500,000 of which are from the law firm, as well as another $150,000 in connection with investigators and other debts. So this essentially is an attempt by the trustee and through the process to figure out how Casey Anthony will come out of bankruptcy.
So how much money are we looking at in her specific situation?
Well, she says she has, not much money. She owes her law firm over $500,000. What they try to do is they try to figure out, she also owes the IRS, which is a debt which she can't get out of. So what they try to do is to get out of bankruptcy. There's what we call the fresh start principle, to allow someone to get out. So what she's going to do is they're going to do a cleansing of all of her assets, and what they will do is they will actually figure out what her assets are and divide whatever assets there are between all the debtors. So if she has $1,000 of assets, I think the number was $1,000, and she owes $800,000 of money, leaving aside the IRS claim, they come first. It's essentially they're going to get pennies on the amount of money they owe, including her counsel at the time.
Well, and one thing we know is she's not going to get away with any of it. She's being watched like a hawk right now. But how common are financial troubles for people that have long-term trials? I mean, a lot of them go into it without a lot in their pockets.
They are very common. It is very common for a defendant to have such legal fees. This was a very lengthy, expensive trial between the lawyer, the expert, the disbursements, the investigators, as well as all the other expenses she's had. She was not a woman who was gaining much income. So strategically, it's the right move. File for bankruptcy, get that fresh start, and then pay off with whatever you have, start anew. And it's getting the attention not because of the bankruptcy, but because of her criminal history, which essentially there is not any.
Well, Richard, let's bring in the community to weigh in as well. Alice, Andrew, Ben, Richie, guys, just when she thought she had a clean slate, she was starting new, she was starting fresh. She's sitting there with, what did you say, Richard? $500,000? She's going to have to pay back?
Yeah, $500,000 from the lawyers and $800,000 total. A huge debt.
I mean, how would you guys feel to be in her position? Putting aside all the other issues.
I would just say that what we'd have to do, Abby, is exactly what you said. Put aside the other issues. Because Casey Anthony brings such drama. The person I can liken her with is O.J. Simpson. Okay? If the same situation, no, I'm not trying to say their crimes are the same, but in terms of notoriety and public opinion, you have to think about it. They're very similar. So if someone thought about O.J. Simpson as getting off with $800,000, it would be very emotion-provoking. But with Casey Anthony, I think we have to separate all that and think, what if it was us? Okay, what if it was me? If I was wrongly accused, meaning acquitted, then how can I ever pay this off, ever? And I would really appreciate a fresh start if I was truly wrongly accused of something. I don't like it. But that's how you have to, in my view, have to think about it. Separate her from if it was you.
For all the ratings, this is a side point, but for all the ratings she's going to give HLN, the headline news network.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
For all the
Nancy
ratings
Grace.
she's going to give them, she should do a special or something.
Well, all she has to do, Andrew, is sign up for a reality show and get paid millions. I mean, you know we would tune in. I mean, wouldn't you guys watch a Casey Anthony reality show?
I know my girlfriend would.
But she may be too toxic even for that in terms of the networks.
And that's saying a lot, too.
Yeah,
Gary Busey could be on reality TV.
but before Casey Anthony or O.J. Simpson.
Richard, were you wanting to chime in? I'll give you the last thought here.
Yeah, many, it's like we said, she has been acquitted. Whether she committed the crime is quite frankly irrelevant. She's acquitted. She's free to walk the streets of Florida. Whether people like her or not is, again, not the issue. So many instances like hers, there are people who do write books, who do, not necessarily reality TV shows, but we could list in the dozens, if not the hundreds, people who write books after these have happened, and money does come in, O.J. Simpson included. So there may be a way for her to get income in the future. Many people won't buy those books, but as many as there are that won't buy, there'll be a lot that buy. But don't forget, she has an $86,000 debt with the IRS, and that's not going away so quickly.
Well, Richard, I think you're right. I have a feeling that she will figure out a way to pay the bills. I don't know how she will, but she'll figure it out. I'm sure she will have some offers on the table. But Richard, thanks for breaking this down for us. And Alice, Andrew, Ben, Richie, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We've got a lot more coming up here at HuffPost Live, so stick with us.